Welcome to the Thunderbro Show. You've got Tony and Josh here, and today we're going to talk about some current events, but mostly politics and what's going on in Washington and our personal thoughts on that. Thank you for viewing. If you enjoy, please like and subscribe. Leave a good comment. The first thing I wanted to bring up today, Tony, was like we were just talking about a second ago, is what are your thoughts on this Erdogan thug situation, them putting the boots to the people there in Washington, D.C., right here on our soil?
Okay, so hi everybody. Firstly, I just want to say I tried to get to my computer today. Unfortunately, having some personal events, so I'm doing the recording from my Bluetooth headset in a car. I'm driving, and we're recording for this. So focusing on driving while I'm talking to you guys. And so other than that, just want to say that's probably why my audio quality might be a little hard to hear for this. But on Erdogan's situation, from what I saw the videos, there's been a couple extra videos that came out later, and he's pointing to his bodyguards, and then they're going in and they're smacking the living shit out of Americans. And that is some bullshit. And since Trump considers Erdogan such a friend, I really do think he needs to say something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. From what I saw, most recently they had a different angle from a cell phone or whatnot, and Erdogan was in his limo and he was talking to his one security guard, and then he like nods to him, or I mean the security guard nods to Erdogan, and then yeah, he's off, and there he starts some shit for sure.
So there's multiple videos of multiple times that he's okaying violence because people are protesting him. And it's like, listen, man, I don't know if you've read your American history or anything, or if you got the little tour guide brochure when you came, but we have this thing called freedom of speech, and that includes people standing around in large groups and saying how much they think you fucking suck.
Yeah, basically, it's almost an American pastime since, what do you think, the 60s, 50s, 60s?
So way before that, it's been hundreds of years that we've been doing this.
You make a good point.
People have been boycotting and protesting, and that's how our country was formed, and that will continue to the day our country is dead or the world is gone or whatever.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Boston Tea Party, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's just I can't believe that happened on our soil, and I'm not seeing any big news, mainstream coverage of this.
Well, I mean, there's CNN and Fox News kind of dabbled a little from what I saw about it, but it was just kind of like a Erdogan. There was a violence clash between. They announced it as Kurdish protesters, is I think what they were labeling them as.
Yes, yeah, that's all I saw.
And it's like, even if they were Kurdish protesters, this is on American soil, and he's not respecting our laws.
Yeah.
And from what I saw, that didn't look like Kurdish people. I could have sworn I saw not that race or anything should matter, but I'm pretty sure one of the videos I saw, they were beating the shit out of a white guy.
Oh, yeah.
And another one, I think, was some girl.
A woman.
So, like,
yes.
so there's definitely Americans getting the shit beat out of them, too. I mean, regardless of whether they're American or not, freedom of speech applies to anybody on the soil, including our visitors. So I don't quite understand, He doesn't seem to understand how it works here, and I don't think he should be welcome back for a while. Even though he's helping us with Syrian refugees and shit over there, and ISIS and everything, that's just, it's really disrespectful on his visit.
Yeah, absolutely. I am no fan of John McCain, but he made a statement about that. Yeah, how pretty much Erdogan's been thrown the hell out of the country.
Yeah. Now, obviously, Trump considers him a huge ally. He congratulated him when he won his Turkey referendum to extend his power.
Yeah, I remember that.
Trump congratulated him right away. And it was pretty contested. It was like a 1% difference, too. So I was surprised that, that it was so celebrated, because it was something that Turkey was deeply questioning if they wanted to change their rules like that.
I mean, I wasn't surprised, but I mean, at the same time, I was. The way that it went down, I was like, geez, this is kind of hardcore.
Unfortunately, I think this is just the beginning when it comes to tensions with certain particular countries and certain particular visitors from countries that we may not be as friendly with anymore, because it seems like our friendships and our enemies' roles are changing a little bit.
Oh, yeah, big time. Big time. Side topic, I guess I wonder how things will go with France. I kind of thought if Le Pen won, we'd become, big buddies with France, but I'm kind of wondering now that Macron won.
Oh yeah, we would have became huge friends with France, but they would have left the EU, and then the EU might have crumbled from that.
Is that such a bad
Like
thing?
Britain and France. Well, I don't know if that's a bad thing or not, but I think the Britain and France being out of it, that just means Germany's holding up all the little countries.
I guess. I mean, I think Germany's about to fall. When your leader can be seen, basically trying to like shove the flag of your country down and be like, "Oh no," like they're ashamed of it. That's pretty sad. Did you see that video of Macron?
Germany has a lot of shame that they're always dealing with, though, historically, and they're a strong country. I think they dealt with it pretty responsibly if you're talking about, like, back in the World War II situation and stuff.
I just feel bad for a lot of, the native Germans right now.
They're paying for a lot of the other countries' problems, and that's what I feel bad about. But
Oh, I think we lost you there.
no, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
No,
I was just essentially saying it's sad.
It is. I feel bad for these native Germans who, they're losing their streets to massive migration, and I'm no opposer to immigration, just do it properly, do it, and you can't have just massively open borders either. You got to have some, rules, regulations, limits, and it is a shame, but it's just, it'll crash economies.
They're such a strong country with their exports and stuff, though. The only thing that I think Trump was probably right about when he talks about them is they don't really as much. Like, we still have a lot of soldiers there and stuff hold up. And that.
We're losing you there again, Tony. Sounds like we got you back now.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. We got you. We lost you there for a second.
Yeah.
No, never mind. I guess we lost him entirely. We'll see if we can get him back here in a minute.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, here he is. Now we have him back. It's always the fun of crappy technology and driving through tunnels, huh?
Something like that.
So the Comey firing situation seems to be on everybody's tongues right now. I don't know. I find it funny how people flipped and flopped on that. What do you think? Because remember the Democrats were all, he should be fired for bringing out Hillary Clinton stuff. And that is true. I guess there's a rule within 45 days of the end of an investigation or something. You're not allowed to reveal classified information.
Yeah.
About
essentially, the law that you're talking about is, the FBI isn't supposed to reveal or release any political investigations or information related to anything that could affect the election.
Yeah.
Because the election should be decided by what the Americans have heard and known through, caucusing and through them people, going and doing speeches and rallies and everything.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that people wind up, I think that Comey, I don't hate Comey as much as everybody else, but I do think that, he messed up. But he even said himself, he's like, I had two choices: concealment or release, and I chose to release.
Well, the problem with that is then he's already broken, I don't know if you could say the Constitution, but he has broken federal law then, because if there was tampering, he was supposed to say something about it right away, not some memo after he's fired and butthurt.
Yeah.
So that's very
I don't
suspect.
know. I don't. If he definitely, I think, is suspect of Trump. I think he has, because he said back on the one Open Congress interview, he was like, I have an open investigation on the Trump campaign, and if there's collusion with Russia. And then he couldn't really talk much more than that, but he said, he was acknowledging that. So I can believe that the memo exists. However, some people are like, oh, it's Godfather. Trump was power playing to say that, oh, you have to drop this or we're going to get rid of you. And it's like, from what I've read, it said, I hope you can find your way to letting this go about Flynn. He's a good guy. That's what Trump said. And they're saying that that's an abuse of power because he's trying to thwart an investigation. Now, that part, thwarting an investigation, I kind of see, but I don't think he was trying to pressure Comey in any way. I just think Trump doesn't know shit about what his limitations are as president, and he thought that was within bounds.
Abuse of power, maybe, but it is definitely not. I forget what the word is. Interfering with an investigation, because ultimately the president is kind of the head of the judicial branch, is he not?
Well, the president's the executive. He's
Oh, I'm sorry, the head of
powers.
yeah, the head of the executive branch. But no, but ultimately, sometimes decisions are left up to certain people. So it is not
Yeah,
outside.
he has underlings that help him because he can't be unconscious 24/7. He has to sleep,
Oh,
and then
we're losing you.
issues come up at the same time. So sometimes you might have to point.
And he's gone. We'll get him back here shortly in a second. But as he was saying,
Ryan's pre.
oh, here he is. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, well, you're back
Yeah.
again. This damn phone.
Gotta love driving. We'll have to. This will be our first episode that we're gonna have to heavily edit. But for the people that are watching live, yeah, this is some of the realities of attempting to be able to talk about one topic for an hour straight for something. It takes planning and research and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun though, for sure. We're not. Don't take that as complaining.
Oh no, absolutely. It's nice to be able. It sounds messed up. It's just it's weird. It just kind of feels like you're getting it out in the universe. Like, oh, I feel this way about something, or I feel that way about something. It's just kind of cool to be like, oh, well, here you go, and even if 10 people even give two craps, fine, who cares? And it's cool to be able to do that. Absolutely. But no, what were we saying there when you lost? You were talking about the. Oh, but it's definitely But since he's the head of the executive branch, I mean, sometimes these decisions, will come to him. So it's not. It maybe, I guess you could say, would be frowned upon behavior, but it is certainly not against the law.
What, for him to do what he was saying, you mean?
Yes, yeah, no laws were broken there, and I'm talking more specifically of what's
They're
going on
talking
with the
about it would be a
Russians.
power play.
No, but I'm talking more specifically with what's going on with the Russians.
Oh, by firing him.
No.
I apologize. I misunderstood.
The information. Just all of it, really, but specifically the information that he apparently revealed to the Russians and blah, 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 blah. And it's just everyday information that a president's allowed to reveal to countries that we're friends with.
Oh, okay. Well, on that topic, anything that the president talks about in the open is automatically disqualified or disclassified. I mean, it's just how that works. But usually when a president talks about something that's classified, there's a whole team that discusses it, talks about it, and factors it in, and kind of says, well, this is how you should declassify, this is how you should say it. And Trump, being Trump, will say what he thinks is best. So he doesn't have any teams questioning or analyzing what he says before he says it. And even if he did, he probably wouldn't listen to them. Not all the time.
No,
I know Stephen Miller's there.
What was that?
I was going to say, you got Stephen Miller and Steve Bannon. Those pretty hefty influences on his speech writing and stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that I don't know. I mean, is it so much to ask maybe for a president who could just stand up there and tell us the truth? I mean, without a speech?
Well,
I understand it's just keep you on track and things like that, but it would be nice, because this is what Trump won on, just getting up there and just being like...
Just blurting it out.
Yeah, and now it's all this speeches, and it's just a lot of people feel very immediately disenfranchised. After they voted for Trump, they're kind of like, it doesn't seem like he's our man. And it's like, well, what did you exactly expect? There are rules to every board
Obama
game.
had the same thing happen, though. People, when
Yes,
Obama won,
big time.
a lot of people on the left thought it was going to rain rainbows and everything was great and all the problems of the world were gone and racism was over and all this other stuff. And it's like, no, it's a lot more complicated than that. Obama's one man and he accomplished some things, but he didn't even get like 10% of what he wanted. And I don't think Trump's even going to get 10% of what he wants, but he'll get some things for sure.
Yeah. I'm just curious to see what those things are. Because the healthcare doesn't seem to be anything super impressive. I mean, it's better than the initial fucking Ryan care that they were offering. But I don't know. I'm just concerned. I'm not one of those naysayers. Oh, he's not doing it because of this and that. It's like these things take time, like the wall and things like that. They take time.
There's only so many votes he can lose, and like everybody's like, oh, Republicans have control of everything. But one thing about Republicans that's been true for all history is they don't work lock and step like Democrats have always done. Like Democrats, when they're told to do something and that's what the party's doing, the whole party follows in step. But the Republicans are very independent thinkers and vary in their opinions about how far is too far, how much is too much government, what's the right spending.
Well, yeah. Well, that's a big reason I'm not. I will say a Democrat, for lack of a better word, or a progressive, is they don't seem to have any care for the individual identity. Just about, like, it's hard to say because it is in a way it's identity, but not the individual identity, but more of, well, what are you? You know, they're very, as they would say, anti-racist. But then they always want
identity politics.
Yeah, exactly. They always want to put somebody into a group. Oh, well, you're black, so you're allowed to be oppressed, and you're allowed to hate white people. But, oh, you're white, well, you're automatically a racist. And it's like you're being racist, you know? So instead of caring about the individual identity, all they seem to care about is what category you fall into. You know?
Now, that's
that
stresses
the standard.
Me out. But there are some very intelligent Democrats who don't do that. But sadly,
I guess I'd have to ask.
Common behavior.
I'd have to ask, like who. But I'm just
oh
being.
Boy,
I'm just
you're
being
putting me on the spot, man.
Well, I'm just being facetious.
It's not an easy thing to defend a Democrat, but okay, I think that Bernie Sanders doesn't group people together. I think he thinks everybody's screwed.
I don't know.
And everybody suffers in some ways except for the rich.
Bernie Sanders is a hypocrite moron. I mean, he's got 3 houses. He takes all this money. You know, he's if he truly believes anything that he says, then he's a moron because then he believes that socialism will give everyone what he has, which is so far from the truth.
Yeah, there's only so many resources.
So he's either stupid or evil because he's either complicit in knowing what he's doing, or he's stupid and honestly thinks that socialism would give everybody what he has. Because it's like, dude, you're banking money, you're buying your 3rd vacation home, well, your 3rd home, but a vacation home. So it's like, come on, guy, really? Like,
He talks a big game, but I think he really just wants to see more money go towards caring about people. I think he's just a bleeding heart person that really cares about people. You know, and he doesn't understand how expensive that is.
I don't know. Just in my opinion, it was a worse slap in the face than I guess it was 2012 when Romney said to, I forget who it was, maybe Huckabee or somebody, oh, you bet $15,000 on that or something, and it was like, jeez, guy, you know that's like a shit ton of money to, like, you know, these poor people you're trying to get to vote for you. Yeah. You know, just felt very disconnected. So I was like, nah, you're a piece of crap. And I feel like
when Bush saw grocery store barcode scanners. Like he was all amazed. He'd never seen anything like it. Like there's certain disconnects. Or when Hillary tried to use the subway card in New York.
Okay.
There's a bunch of them. Yeah, there's some politicians that are very wealthy and they don't have to worry about very many things. So it's hard. They try to pretend like, oh yeah, I'm just like you. I'm no different than you. See? And it's just like, yeah, okay.
It's bullshit. You know, they like they tried to sell Bush as a Texan. He's like from Connecticut. Like,
well,
good old New England.
He certainly is pretty good at acting like a Texan sometimes. But yeah, the Bushes have spread all over the place.
Yeah, so it's always like that. You're absolutely correct. It's, oh, look at me drinking my smoothie, being one of the people. You know, and it's like, oh, really? So I wonder why you got Huma Abedin there whispering in your ear what the fuck normal people eat, Clinton.
Yeah. Well, everybody does it, though, on the right and the left. And it can be really frustrating because it's like, listen, I get that you need to raise a lot of money to compete in these things. And unfortunately, if you don't know a lot of people to call who are going to give you donations, you know, it's just this vicious cycle. And then if you don't know a lot of people, one of these gigantic companies are going to pick you up, and then you're going to feel indebted to them.
Yes.
So it's a tough world to try to be fair and still represent your people and everything else. But that doesn't mean you should stop trying.
Yeah,
there's some people that do better than others.
Absolutely, but it is difficult for sure. You know, there is just a big disconnect there, and it's hard to even tell sometimes who really represents who, because sometimes it'll seem like, oh, this looks good, this looks all right, oh, like Ted Cruz seems okay, and then you're like, whoa, presidential election, skeletons come out of the closet, and you're like, you're kind of a shitty person, like. And it's just, I don't know. And then I saw a lot of, I for lack of a better word, these crazy libertarians.
Remember, I told you back in the day that Trump was going to win the primary at least.
Yeah,
I
honestly,
didn't mean I was supporting Trump, but I knew he was going to win the primary.
I was so sure. Oh, I'll win the primary? Yeah, okay, fine. I could buy that because it was just kind of like, Cruz is just unlikable. He's like, I'm Ted Cruz. I don't even
Cruz got it. Cruz has got it. And I was like,
no way.
Trump is a master brander.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's got stamina just going out to all those rallies. What was Cruz doing? I mean, are you serious? Nobody even compared. Everybody loves to go, oh, Hillary Clinton's hiding in a closet while Cruz is rallying or Trump is rallying. Dude, what was everybody else doing during the primaries? Like, nothing. They were sitting on their hands for the most part. They were going to their strong conservative states that they would have won anyway, instead of going to states that are like more super liberal. I don't know. And Trump went everywhere.
They try a whole bunch of stuff.
Trump
$1, right? There you go. Thank you.
Oh, there you go. Paying a toll on a podcast, everybody.
Yeah, paying a toll on podcast. Pennsylvania border.
Easton, Pennsylvania. How dare you charge $1 to come in?
Don't announce my location. The drones are going to come after me.
Oh, well,
now we're a conspiracy podcast all of a sudden.
Would they not be very?
A little conspiracy music started.
I mean, they'd be very far away because you don't live at the toll booth. So, but yeah, good old tolls, and they're the worst toll
people
roads.
People probably put in the comments, "Why don't you have an Easy Pass?" It'd be like,
oh, because we're poor. Oh, they save you money. Yeah, we know, but then you gotta have a credit card attached. We're not stupid. We're just poor.
And then accidentally you pull a bill, and all of a sudden you think you have enough money to pay your other bill, and then everything bounces, and then you get bank feed out the booty.
Over a $2 toll, yeah. And the worst part about it is, anybody watching from in Pennsylvania, oh my God, those toll roads are the worst. It's like, what does this money go towards? Crack whores and cheeseburgers? Because you just drive down from like, I don't know, Norristown to Quakertown, and it's like, holy crap!
They fixed the southern part of the Northeast Extension. Actually, I know that you're still down in New Mexico, but the southern part of the Northeast Extension of the Turnpike is really nice now. But it took a lot of years. It was crap for like a decade.
Took them long enough, because
it's still the top part near where we live is crappy still.
Yeah,
but once you get closer down to the city and the Chester and King of Prussia area, it's really nice.
Well, like it was pretty bad going out west too. Like going out to Pittsburgh, it's really like not great.
I still don't know how that is.
It's pretty bad. Like I have never not hit construction somewhere, taking the turnpike out to Pittsburgh. Always somewhere. So they're always working on it, and then when they're done, it's really never that amazing. I mean, I'm sorry.
And you spent $30.
20. Well, yeah, it's going up and down. Once was $28.50, another time was like $32.50. It's pretty outrageous. That's why I recommend anybody. Yeah, you take north, go 84. But it's just with how expensive tolls are, you think. And I'm not bashing tolls. Tolls are great. I've been to other states, and toll roads are just immaculate. They are beautiful.
Yeah, some states. It's not our state, our home state. Yeah.
Well, it's like proof. That private. Well, it's almost proof that private funding is the way to go, outside of Pennsylvania, because.
Well, yeah, it's true.
It's really
I will say that this is a very ancient area, and a bunch of states run through here. We're close to Washington, D.C. We're close to New York. We have Philadelphia. We have a lot of things in Jersey, like Camden, and it is just like. There's a lot going on here.
That is also the east side, which is the tri-state area.
Yeah.
If you're on the south side there, you're kind of in the tri-state area. You've got Maryland, Pennsylvania, Delaware, well, more than tri-state, but Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania. Then you go up north, New York, Jersey again, Connecticut, I think Rhode Island's up north as well. So, yeah, it's but that's on the other side of Connecticut. But yeah, so it's a lot there, and it's packed. People don't. Out west sometimes, for instance, New Mexico, population 1.8 million people. Albuquerque, like 870,000 people. There's 2 million people in Philadelphia alone. The state of Pennsylvania, over 12 million. So,
Yeah.
and it's about half the size of New Mexico. So just think about that.
Well, it's very fertile. Like William Penn founded it, and that was before we were even America, and he knew that this land kicked boot.
That was good. West
was
Virginia's
awesome.
good too. West Virginia's not bad land. Virginia's pretty good. Ohio, a lot of greenery.
Land is land, though. I'd take any land at this point. You know, if
Yes.
somebody's like, "Oh, here's some free land," I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much."
Yep.
But at the same time, I definitely like this is an ancient part of America, and a lot of our ancient histories are here, and it's very sacred. You know, and I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, we're too
now.
young of a country to have any sacred history," and it's like we're 300 years old, and a lot of things happened here that changed. Like we fought for slavery before we even formed into a country in Philadelphia. Slavery was argued about, and the colonies to the south were just like, "No, we want slavery." Like
Well,
there's so much has taken place here.
here's a wizard for you. At the beginning of the Civil War, Robert E. Lee didn't have any slaves, and Ulysses S. Grant did. So,
I didn't know that.
yeah, interesting little trivia topic because the Civil War is not
Robert
about
E. Lee
slavery.
didn't want to serve for the Southern Army either. He was really torn about it from a lot of things I've read, but then, you know, he had to because that was where he was born. So he had to stay loyal to his homeland.
It was a bloody mess, and it was about a hell of a lot more than slavery. You know, this idea that it was, you know, whenever like staunch right conservative people, even people I like, you know, they're always like, oh, 700,000 white men died to end slavery in America. And I'm like, well, first off, they weren't white men. Secondly, that wasn't really the only reason they were fighting. It's a little disingenuous to say that that was what, you know, the Civil War was about, was to free the slaves, because that's just on its face not true.
Well, there's one factor.
Yeah,
I think. How about this? I think slavery is what started the Civil War. It was the spark because of Abraham Lincoln winning, and people thought Abraham Lincoln was gonna abolish slavery, even though he tried to not
secession.
talk about it.
It was flat out. It was flat out like the Second Tea Party, and the North was like, "No, we're not having that shit." It was like, you know, we want to do things our way. You're encroaching on us. The whole point of being an American is to have our freedoms. You're encroaching on our way of life, you know. And a lot of people would say, "Oh, well, that's owning slaves," and to some people it was. And I do not condone
Well, that
slavery.
was-
Slavery
yeah, that-
was horrible, but it was about so much more, you know.
Oh, I agree. There was more factors to it, but I think slavery was issue number one.
I think that was the issue that they painted, because it's like in every good war, you know, you need to have a propaganda war as well, and I think that was it was the dead Syrian kids gas attack. It was
If that's
they have
if
slaves.
that's the case, though, that's very sad because that would make Abraham Lincoln a bad man, and who did a good thing.
Well, on
You know
the
what I mean?
on the conspiratorial side of things, I obviously, you know, this is obviously just conspiracy theory stuff. Something about a journal of his. Somebody said, I guess I don't know the whole story, so don't quote me on any of this. But basically, that I guess he thought that blacks were kind of like lesser people, but they still deserved freedom. I was like, what? Like, is that true? That's ridiculous.
I never really looked over much of his
Yeah.
journals and stuff, but you got to
Me
remember
neither,
back then
so-
it was a different time, and segregation is what even took over the system after Reconstruction. It wasn't like everything was good. I mean, things are still kind of messed up now to a small degree, but like back
Well,
then
that
after
could be
Reconstruction,
argued. That could be arguably Obama's fault.
well, I'm not even getting into all that right now. I'm just saying after Reconstruction, they had segregation, you know, separate but equal, and it was like, you know,
that's
is just not good
horrible.
for the economy. I don't even care how you feel about like anything else. It's like, so you're gonna stop having transactions with all these people just because they have a different color skin? Like, so you're gonna be poorer and have less customers just because of their skin? Like, first, that just sounds stupid to me. Even if you're a racist, you'd
Well,
want
how
to do
about-
business with black people, wouldn't you?
Hell yeah, money, bitch. I mean,
Exactly. It's like everybody loves the color green more than anything else. I always thought.
that's what I was about to
So-
say. I was like, nobody's racist
That's the part that
against green.
confuses me. Yeah. So I don't get it. I don't. But then, you know, there's ancient. These are social structures that existed for a long.
Okay, well
long time.
hold on, let's dial it back though. You know, we're being a little vague here. Let's unpack this a little bit. You have to keep in mind that these laws were enforced. Jim Crow laws were enforced. Like by the government. Like you're not allowed to sell to black people at the white counter. Like these laws were enforced. So even if you wanted to do this, it kind of became this underground railroad shit again. Like, oh yeah, man, I'll sell it to you, just hush hush or whatever. You know,
So
like,
it's fucked up when you talk about it like that. The way you're describing it, and that's true. I never thought of it like that. It's like white people were forced to be racist too.
oh, some. And then that's why you had the
So
civil
were black
rights
people
movement.
too. It was like
Yeah.
everybody was forced to be racist to everybody because you can't interact with anybody, or you're breaking.
Like, say, I don't know how it was. I wasn't around in the 50s or the 60s. But say you've got a black bus driver, right? He would still have to make sure other black people got in the back of the bus if this was that time of, in the country. So, yeah, these
So
Jim...
fucked up.
It is fucked up. These Jim Crow laws were fucked
It's like
up.
if nobody's in the freaking bus and I was the bus driver, like I'd be like, dude, that's the dumbest fucking rule ever. Chill up here with me. Let's talk for a bit. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, no, and I think that's exactly what started happening, and and then that's what started the civil rights movement. People were like, "What the crap is this?" So you can go die for the country.
Because
On
you
the,
see
on the
some
beaches.
white people in those groups with like Martin Luther
Yes,
King and stuff.
lots.
It wasn't a lot of white people, but there was a couple
there's
of
a
people
decent,
that were supporting it because it was right.
There's a decent amount. There's a significantly decent amount. It's just you generally don't see those pictures because Whitey's the devil, don't you know? But yeah, it's astonishing. But that's so people started standing up. They started protesting. They were like, "Fuck this shit," for lack of a better term. It's like, so I can die for this country, but I can't drink at the same water fountain as my white girlfriend. Oh yeah, you heard me. I'm sticking it to her. Like, you know what I mean? It's just fucked up. And yeah, these laws were enforced. People forget that. It's just like people weren't just not everybody anyway. Obviously there are still racists to this day, but these laws were enforced. Jim Crow were laws. Like segregation laws were a thing. It wasn't just like people were being racist here and they weren't here and everybody found love and these were laws that it was like, no, you're black, you're over there, you're white, you're over there. And it's the fact that even happened in this country is kind of messed up. On top of the slavery and everything else. But this was in the 50s. We're talking 67 years ago right now.
Yeah, it's really messed up.
It's not that
For
long
sure.
ago. It's not that long ago at all.
I mean, what about if the Trail of Tears is a little longer back, but that's Native Americans getting treated like crap.
Well, but that's also a little more complicated than that. It was just supposed to be this is going to sound horrible. I'm going to sound like a horrible. It's just a relocation. It's horrible. But it was just supposed to be a relocation. And man, that piece of shit just fucking starved them out and murdered them. It was horrible. It's an atrocity against life. It's unacceptable. And, people would say, oh, well, so is moving people off their land. I agree with that statement. I do. We shouldn't have put Native Americans on reservations. You know what I'm saying? But what people,
some of the land that we got was fairly traded for, but then there's some where it's like I heard like a massive amount of land were like traded for just like a couple pelts.
I honestly don't know the specific stories, but it would not surprise me. There were some small pieces of land and even larger pieces that were gotten for, but that's whatever. So fine, they want to be stupid traders. That's fine, but people forget these things. Oh, we came, but just let me finish my thought quick because I don't want to lose it. We came here and we didn't just like exterminate a bunch of these natives. They were already exterminating each other, so we just like picked a side that seemed more willing to trade and learn our ways, and then we helped them exterminate the others.
Yeah. Well, we've been doing that to this day still.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we do with the proxy wars?
Exactly.
It's so messed up.
It is horrible.
Our game is just we've taken it international.
Yeah,
our favorite gambling game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is horrible that, but it's not this cold cut, oh, we came and murdered them and we took their land and they're all dead now. You know how many of them died just from diseases that we brought that they never experienced?
Yeah, they never got to experience in their immune systems.
Yeah, it wasn't malicious, some of the deaths, And the smallpox blankets things, bullshit. I call bullshit on that. Like, so you're telling me in a time where they're burning witches, right? That like somehow they're like, oh no, there's these tiny little molecules, right, on these blankets, and we'll get them sick and stuff. Trust me, like witch, burn him, like fuck.
I mean, there was some scientific awareness of these kinds of things. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, but not a huge one. Not a huge one. The guy who can confirm the smallpox blankets probably now has smallpox. It's like 1640 or something. Come on. So I find it funny, some of the things that we come up with. And, oh, we killed some. I'm not even joking where they come up with these numbers. They'll come up with these numbers. It's like, we killed 100 million Native Americans. And then you look back. On estimate, there were only 12 million Native Americans here when we got here. So it's kind of like, wait, what? Now
But over X years, over 100 years, and so many generations of people.
I just don't buy that, man. If there was only 12 million of them then, and we started killing them right away, like the horrible people we are, how did they get over 100 million for us to kill 100 million, and there still be a reasonable amount of them now?
I mean, I definitely think it was in the millions, but I don't think it was hundreds of millions.
Well, like I said, I think it was easily in the millions too, between disease and, the warring tribes, and we just picked the tribes that we basically liked better.
Colonel Mustard?
You were Colonel Mustard, haha. You're talking about Custer, I think, maybe? That's Civil War, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Not the Civil War. I'm talking about the out west, the guy.
General Custer is who you're
General
talking
Custer.
about.
There we go. Yeah.
And, no, there's all
that
sorts
wasn't a happy moment there. Very cowboyish.
There was all sorts of horrible atrocities, like Wounded Knee, And there was this thing.
But at the end of the day,
there was this thing that was happening here in New Mexico. I think it's at Sky City. I cannot remember the tribe, but back in those good old days, there was this guy, and if you tried to run, if you tried to get away, they just enslaved him, and if they tried to run or get away, this guy would cut your leg off. He'd cut you off at the foot. And then if these guys would still be defiant and stuff like that, he marched them off a cliff. All these natives just right off the cliff. It's like, holy fucking shit. Well, funny story, because that's depressing. Years later, somebody built a statue to this dumbass colonel guy. And so there's some natives who were not very happy, and they went and they cut the leg off the statue.
yeah, that's a poetic justice.
So I was like, hell yeah, I know that's not the same. People died, but what can you do? This was hundreds of years ago, so I like that a bunch of kids went out there and they cut that leg off. It made me...
That's a fun form of protest. It's just like, yeah, by the way, you asshole.
Yeah.
The terrible things he did.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's why people... there's a lot of... I guess it's Jackson. They're switching Susan B. Anthony for Jackson, right?
Yeah, or not Susan B. Anthony. They're doing... oh, God. The Underground Railroad... Oh, my God. Why am I drawing a blank?
I can't think of her name either right now.
No, it's the Underground Railroad. Oh, my God. It's on the tip of my tongue. I'm just driving. I'm like, derping. Oh, my goodness. Okay. It'll come back to me later, and then I'll say it.
But
I know that if people are watching and they remember, it's a $20 bill. She's the Underground
Harriet
Railroad.
Tubman.
Harriet Tubman. There we go. Thank you.
Well, I'm just going to Google it. I mean, we're sitting here doing the live stream. It's not like I don't have the internet. And yeah, I can't believe it. But yeah,
I know.
And I'm all for that, I am all for that. Jackson was not the best person. So.
Well, it's funny, though, because Jackson's very similar to Trump's whole thing. Like, he remarried, and his wife was called, like, a whore and crap during the elections and stuff, and Jackson got really mad and, like, threatened to... I don't know if he threatened to kill somebody. I think he threatened violence against the person who was saying shit about his wife and stuff.
Wow.
And it was real, man. I'm like, damn, elections were real back then.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we don't talk about wives anymore. Well, is because of that election. Is why the rule about you shouldn't be talking about the president's wife.
Yeah, well, I shouldn't say liberals, but, this progressive left that's going on.
Oh, partners. There we go. Yeah, sorry. Progressive, or president's partners.
Oh, whatever. Oh, because,
Hey, you're the one that pulled the PC card, so I was like, if you want to be all PC.
I'm saying to not be PC, but I'm saying the progressive left doesn't, doesn't understand honor. Like, what does Melania Trump have really anything to do with Donald Trump? Okay. Not to mention these same people are like, oh, it's great to be a whore. Be a feminist. Do you. It's whatever. Oh, look at what this whore did. It's like, whoa, major hypocrisy.
To me, though, for any of the presidents, I mean, that's a whole separate thing. But, like, the first lady or the first partner or whatever you want to call it is very important to any president because at the end of the day, when you're going to sleep and everything, there's only really one person you can trust, and that's the person you married before you started this storm known as being a president.
I don't know. Tell that to Lorena Bobbitt's husband.
And then he has his daughter, too. He has, that's a whole separate situation. And then I would say he has Ivanka as well, his daughter. Like, if we have our daughters, like, I would trust my daughter's opinion a lot if I was, like, much older and stuff running as a president. I would probably listen to a lot of what she said.
It depends.
I mean, depending on her age.
Yeah, and what they do.
If she, like, is, like, all of a sudden does a petition or something like that, and she's trying to sit here and be like, well, Dad, I think that the healthcare should be like this. I'll be like, well, how much have you looked into the healthcare? And I might question her a little bit more. But if she's into the same things I'm into, I'm gonna listen to a lot of what she says.
No, absolutely, and that that is a good quality to have. And I honestly, I may be painting with a broad brush here, but I don't feel like a lot of the baby boomers understood that with their children. You know, it's very I know better than you to the grave, even when some of them are out of their minds.
Yeah, because we all experience things differently. You know, they're going to go through a different school experience than we went through. They grew up with handheld computers that instantly gave them entertainment. So their patience levels are going to be much less than ours, but that could be used to develop new things that we never thought of.
Yeah, I do worry that it'll come, it'll take this instant gratification attitude that we have going on right now, and it'll just
Take it to a whole new level.
Yes, yes. I mean, people are just impressed at the fact that you remember things nowadays. Have you noticed that? It's like, wow, you just remembered that? And it's like, well, yeah. It's like, wow. Like, and I think that's why in certain job fields, it's easy.
Yeah, we just drew a blank on Harriet Tubman.
True. That happens, though. People draw blanks all the freaking time. Sometimes I'll walk into my bedroom and I'll be like, why am I in here?
Yeah, that's true. I do that all the time.
Yeah, it's...
Do it all the time.
Yeah.
Then you walk out and back into the living room, and then you're like, oh, yeah, I needed this. And then you walk back in the bedroom again.
Yep. And then it was in the living room. And then it was just like, oh, my gosh. It's so... Yeah, no, these things happen to everybody.
But I was going to say, we're getting a little off the rails. One thing I would mention is that essentially the biggest thing that we're sitting here saying about like corruption and bad presidents and everything else, the big thing that everybody will argue about is you have one side that says everything Trump does is right and great and Trump can do no wrong and it's all great and all hail Trump. And like it's like a loyalty that's unlike anything I've seen.
I believe,
and I'm not going to get into any names, but I have family members with this loyalty. I have good friends who I love, and good friends with this level of loyalty.
I believe the proper term is all hail God Emperor Trump.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, I thought it would be MAGA, 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 or however you want to look at it.
That's what the progressive left would tell you. But no, it's much better to be a centrist because, this man's far from perfect. He's going to do what I hope, a lot of good, but he's also going to do some bad.
But on the other end, you got people holding pitchforks and everything against the man because he says a bunch of dirty things and he's a dumb, rich billionaire who's pretty good at branding and knows real estate. And people are like, screw that, not my president. Even though, like, he was duly elected. Like, seriously, at least give him a chance to be a dumbass first.
What I honestly find astonishing is like right here, okay, yeah, he is rich as crap, but then like they'll leak these videos like, grab him by the pussy, and it's like, wow, what a normal fucking dude. He's just sitting there trying to puff himself up to another guy, just having a pissing contest.
Yeah, and he's like so full of crap. And you notice that Billy Bush, this is the one thing I never noticed anybody talk about. You notice Billy Bush tried to call him out on his bullshit?
A little.
He tried to get because what Trump said and everything, and then I forget the exact words he used, but the girl in the purple dress, he was like trying to prompt it to force Trump to do what he said he was going to do on the bus. And that happens all the fucking time amongst guys. The guys will be like, my dick's 8 inches long. And then the other guy will be like, oh yeah, here's a tape measure. Now, obviously that was a disgusting measure of it because they used a real live woman for their stupid guy prank.
I don't even know about that because it was kind of like she walks down with both of them, one in each arm, and it's like, oh, cringe fest. It's like these guys are just drooling over this chick. It was just cringy in my opinion. But another part everybody doesn't talk about is in that same conversation, he talks about something which is horrible, trying to hit a married woman, and it's like, well, that's not cool, and it's exactly what it's like.
Oh yeah, it's a flirt. And nobody mentions that. You won't hear that on the news at all.
And that's far more atrocious than like just being a rich guy who like tries to get girls to be horny because he's rich. And the worst part about them not mentioning that is one, that's horrible, and then secondly, it was like, oh man, I was like a bitch, but no, she wasn't having it, and it's like that was it. Did Trump go and rape this woman? No. That was it. He spent a bunch of money.
No, but
he's trying to coax her up.
Rich asshole and thought he could get it.
And he didn't get any. Okay, so he took no for no, and that girl walked home with a bunch of nice stuff. It's not good behavior. It was horrible behavior, married woman and all that. But my point is he took no for an answer. So I just find it funny in the exact same conversation. They want to be like, oh my God, he's a sexual assaulter. When right there it's like he obviously isn't when he's telling a story about how, oh man, I just, I didn't shoot the hard six with this one girl. It sucked. I didn't get her. She was married. I was a little bitch. But normally, you're rich. These girls, they come up on you. They're great. They love you. They let you grab them by the pussy. I mean, wow. They didn't look at the whole thing. Like,
And you notice that word you just said though. That part, everybody misquotes it. Where you said they let you grab them by the pussy.
Yep.
Versus I grabbed them by the pussy, which is what they think that he said. And he didn't say that.
And see, the problem is when you try to say it's just already like hoary women, promiscuous women who would do things like this, then it's like, oh, see, there's a rape culture. You're contributing to the rape culture. And it's like, no. Saying that a girl is a whore because she'll basically do things for money is not the same as saying, oh, she got raped because her skirt was too short. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But they
completely agree.
They try to equate that. It's like, no, this woman's making a choice to basically sell her.
When a girl is raped because she wore a short skirt and somebody says, oh, it was her fault, she shouldn't have been dressed like that, that's wrong.
That is exactly, that's absolutely wrong. That guy, the rapist, because there's not that many of them and they should be killed and castrated.
Should have had some self-control.
Exactly.
Yeah, he should have some self-control. And if they castrated rapists, I bet you there'd be a lot less rapes.
Oh, yeah, or if they just killed him, flat out, rape, kill. See, the problem is now that they're passing basically like these regret is rape laws, that's a problem. But if that's how it had been the last 50 years, shit, we never.
No, but the castration can only be for straight up like penis vagina rape. But when it happens, castration.
Okay, but then.
Or at least the balls.
What do you do?
Like
what do you do when a woman, like right now, guys are at a disadvantage? Like if a woman rapes a guy, it doesn't technically count because there wasn't penetration. So it doesn't even count as rape; it counts as molestation.
Okay. You actually, and there's
because they changed all these laws up.
The only way you could take out female hormones would be through a hysterectomy. Oh man, that's brutal.
Yeah, and I mean,
you got to cut them all open. For the guy, it's like snip. With a girl, you'd actually have to do some insane invasive surgery.
Well, and the problem here is it's not the same thing. Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but does the clitoris not still work after a hysterectomy? Does it not still give pleasure?
Yeah. It does.
Well, then fuck that. That's not the same punishment as castrating a guy. A guy won't even be able to get it up.
Being able to castration takes out the ability to father children, and hysterectomy would stop the ability for him mother.
Castration takes out the ability to get it up. Okay?
You can't father, but you can't father kids.
You can have sex. You can have sex and receive pleasure after a hysterectomy. From my understanding, I'm not trying to sound mean to anybody who has gone through this and that is not the case, but from my understanding you can, but you castrate a guy, he can't even get it up, he can't even get the blood flow, he can't even get to that point.
There's some pedophiles that have been castrated of their own will, and that's still not a problem. They complain that it's not a thorough answer.
Wow. Well, then we should just kill them. I'm sorry, you rape little kids.
Then we should just kill them. No, it's not that they rape. They know that they desire little kids and they don't want to do it, so they put themselves in seclusion and they've castrated themselves.
Oh, well, I guess this will be, you'll have to take this, people, like, I mean, this will be a broad statement, but people will have to just fully understand it. I don't really have a huge problem with pedophiles. I have a huge problem with child molesters. You see what I'm saying there?
No, that's what I mean. There's a difference between somebody who has issues with what they're attracted to versus somebody who acts on it.
Yeah, because I think
some psychopaths are functional, and some psychopaths kill them.
I think it is a mental condition that could maybe be sorted. So I just don't think we should hate on the people who've never given into their mental condition.
I agree.
So you have to be careful with that. But yeah, no, absolutely. If you've molested a child, or you have raped a girl, or you've raped a guy, whack them. But I just heard this argument.
I don't know about whack them. Man, with death penalty is such an extreme.
Whack them. Well, what do you do, though?
Speaking of the death penalty, I got one for you. I got one that messes me up. All right, there was a guy who didn't want to. All these drugs are expiring, and all these drugs are these long, torturous deaths.
Yeah, I heard about this.
To be quick and painless. He wanted to get the firing squad, which if I ever got the death penalty, I'd want the firing squad too.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And so he requested the firing squad, and they denied him the firing squad. And I'm like, what type of brutal shit is this? Like, all the man wanted was a quick death. Like, he had a right to that constitutionally, that you will not get, long and arduous punishment. If you got the death penalty, it should be quick and distributed fast.
No, absolutely. And the funniest thing about that is it'd be super cheap, because the way that they've done firing squads, from my understanding, in a very, very long time, is a bunch of guys load blanks, and then they basically put it, not a sniper, but more or less a sniper in the center, and he has a bullet, and he's aiming at your head, and you're shot in the head, and everything else is just show. So it's really not expensive, from my understanding, to do the firing squad. It should be humane. I mean, I don't know. I don't
You
fully
know,
understand.
a tour guide that I went through with Philadelphia when I said I went to the Constitution Center and stuff. I did a little tour just so my kids could enjoy a tour. I know you saw some pictures and stuff. But one thing he said that was really messed up and sticks with me is he said that bullets were rarely used in firing squads, were only for special criminals because a noose you could reuse, a bullet you can only use once.
Yeah. Yep. That's very, very, very true. Which is why, I mean, as grim as it is, I'm surprised they don't use bullets now because they're far cheaper than these chemicals. A bullet's 20 cents. One little 223 or 556 or something. Bam.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree.
20
But see,
cents.
some people think that might be too much pain.
I
But I'm
wonder.
just kind of like,
I do
I don't-
wonder. If you well, we don't know. I've never been shot in the head. I don't know. Like,
well, firing squad's a bunch of bullets.
no, I don't think
Like a hail
so.
of bullets.
I don't think so. I mean, back in the day, yes, but I believe now what they were doing is everybody else would just pack powder, and they would just shoot the one guy in the head. One guy would have a live round, and everybody else would just, have blanks. From my understanding, I could be wrong about this. Feel free to correct me
I
in the
don't know.
comments. I would
Honestly,
love
I
to learn,
can't
guys.
speak an opinion. Yeah, but like it's weird. I didn't expect to talk about that one today on the podcast, but that was something that really made me angry. I thought the guy, criminal or no criminal, like constitutionally, that the punishments were supposed to be distributed in a fair way.
Well, you ready? Okay, you want to get more angry then?
Well,
People
you
are
got a new story.
people are discussing that it's better to just imprison people for life because I guess it's becoming cheaper in certain circumstances to imprison them for life than it is to put them on death row.
I actually kind of can agree with that.
So
I think it's more humane too, honestly, because
okay. So these
don't
people,
you think if you're really a terrible person, being forced to stay alive is worse punishment than death? I always thought death was relief for some of the worst.
okay, but is that not kind of hypocritical to what you just said? Are these people, even as criminals, not entitled to a quick death? So now they have to live in
For the
prison
ones
their
that
whole
it's
lives?
cast, well, that's why there's the two things there, right? If some states don't allow it, some states do. The states that allow it should be quick and painful, or paid quick and painless, if possible. You know what I mean? But the states that don't allow it, all right, fine. Let's sit here and pursue. Let's make sure that this is all done right.
So what do you,
You know,
do? Yeah, but
like-
what do you do with the mass murderer then in those states? I can't believe they just imprison them for life. Some guy who kills 12 people. It's like, okay, we'll just imprison him
Yeah,
for
in
life.
solitary or a shoe unit or a solitary, yeah.
No, I understand that. It's just, I guess I'd like to go a little biblical on that, man. You murdered somebody, then you're dead. Like, that's the punishment for murder, not accidental death, murder.
Yeah, no, well, manslaughter is different. Yeah,
Manslaughter is
the Bible got
hugely
into a whole
different.
bunch of little specific punishments and stuff in the book of Leviticus.
And I mean, I kind of agree with most of them. The problem is it gets a little shady because then if you go by Levitical law, women who abort their babies then need to be killed because even if you accidentally hurt a woman who is pregnant and kill the baby, then you get put to death. So intentionally killing a baby in utero, then obviously you get put to death. So it is a little sketchy. Now, obviously, I'm against abortion, but I mean, should people be murdered for their mistakes or what I consider a mistake or giving into pressure? No, obviously not.
I completely, yeah, it's complex, but there's the coat hangers and girls falling off stairs and crazy suicides.
But that's okay. But why?
things like
how
that,
do you
too.
can't just jump to that. See that's why I always tease you about being super liberal or super progressive. Because I mean, how do you jump to coat
I'm
hangers?
not. It's funny
Oh,
too
if-
because we sit here. Anybody who's listening to us knows that from things I've said that I'm not like hardcore liberal in a lot of things. But when it comes to this, I personally consider myself like if I was a woman and I got pregnant, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could get an abortion. So I am very personally pro-life, but I don't think that you can force other people like to make that decision. Even though I think it's a bad decision to make,
I'm just sick
I
of the
don't
argument.
think you can force them to make it.
No, absolutely, and that's a good place to be. But I guess I'm just sick of this progressive argument that like, oh, if you defund Planned Parenthood, people will be aborting babies with coat hangers and back alleys. It's like, oh my God, shut the fuck up. It's like, are you
Well-
serious to me? It's just like this is not gonna happen. It's perfectly legal. They just
No,
might have,
yeah, that wouldn't happen at
They might
all.
have to pay for their mistake out of their wallet, which people tend to love more than anything else. But it's not. I mean, I don't understand where they get this idea that if people can't get free taxpayer paid abortions, that somehow people will be doing it with coat hangers in the back alley. That's why when you always say, oh, there's coat hangers and falling downstairs, it just it works me up a little bit because it's like, you have to be kidding me. What is this, 1925? And the Pope runs America? Like, I don't know. It just wouldn't go that way, you know? People might be getting contraceptives a little bit more if an abortion costs, like we were talking before the one time, $3,000. Obviously, it wouldn't cost that much, but make it cost that much. And then maybe people might be like, oh, damn, I should gift wrap this package with a 25-cent condom.
I kind of see what you're saying, but I think, there's a mix because it is something that, you shouldn't make other people pay for mistakes that you make. But then at the same time, we need to keep things safe. I was going to say, what do you think if Trump's a crook or not?
Well, if he's a crook, then I suppose we have to kick his ass and get him impeached, which would be a crying shame. But I don't think, from my understanding, it would be Pence then, yes. And I don't have any major problems with Pence. When I saw him over there at the DMZ, I'm like, hey, okay, this guy's the vice president. The Korean, North Korean, South Korean DMZ.
He was looking pretty, when you're talking about when he was looking at the DMZ to the Koreans and staring them down and everything.
No, just being there and doing what vice presidents do. I don't know. What was did Biden go to the DMZ? What the fuck did Biden do? It just was kind of, hey, he's a good man. And the whole electroshock conversion therapy for gays thing is a myth. So I really don't have any problems with Mike Pence. So yeah, if he's a crook though, damn, I'll be pissed. Honestly, I'll be pissed. Because it's like, look, bitch, you left me with no other choice other than Clinton, who was a crook, so I just picked a fucking crook? No, I'll be pissed.
That would be a shame. But then after that's Paul Ryan. So what do you think about him running the country if both of them were both considered crooks? Is that really how it goes?
It goes Speaker of the House before Secretary of State?
Yeah, Speaker of the House. Yeah, and then I think it's Secretary of State after.
When would it be? Oh gosh, my brain fart. General, whatever, Commander of the Joint Chiefs. When would it be him? 5-star general. Is that like way down the list? Oh, I think we lost him. Big surprise there. Right on a question I don't know the answer to. But the reason I asked him that question was because I would much prefer, I think, to skip over Paul Ryan if possible. Just based on the simple things that I know, and I am not a big fan of what was Ryan Care.
Okay.
So we have
apologies with the driving. I'm back. I just had to focus on my driving.
No, all
like
good.
I said, I'm driving, so yeah, there was sometimes a small delay.
No
but yeah, deal. So I said, what was your question again?
Okay, well, no, what I was asking was, at what point does it go to the Commander of the Joint Chiefs? Like, is he the 5-star general, more or less, I believe?
I don't. Oh man, I used to know this up to like 10 people. I think it's like after the Secretary of State, it's like the Secretary of the Interior.
Oh, jeez.
And then the Secretary of Urban Development and the Secretary of Defense. The Secretary of Defense is really far down because it's usually a military man. And you got to remember that we really don't want, as a country, our Constitution, everything else is tried to design to avoid having a military man as our leader. They're supposed to be separate powers.
Oh, I guess that's, I'm a hammer, so everything's a nail. But yeah, that makes sense, though, absolutely. You would probably want, because I guess once you get, at that point, once it's him or her, if it's a woman at the time, then it's pretty much martial law.
Exactly. And, a lot of times it still happens. George Washington, our first president, was a general. Some of our best presidents, like Eisenhower, was a general. There's a lot of people that were very, very great men that, were military leaders, but they weren't in the military at the time they were running. They were retired.
Okay, well, it looks like Commander of the Joint Chiefs would never be eligible, it looks like, based on what I'm seeing.
Ding, ding, ding. I feel great, because I was sitting here like, I don't think they're on the list.
No,
so when you
not.
mentioned that one, I was just like,
At the bottom, you have the Secretary of Homeland Security, Veteran Affairs, Education, Energy, Transportation, Housing, Urban Development, Health and Human Services, Labor, Commerce, Agriculture, then of the Interior. Then it's the AG, which, I guess, wait. Yeah, there we go.
Sessions.
No, it is updated. It didn't look like it was updated yet, but it is updated, and they have Sessions on there. Because I'm on just Wikipedia right now. Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of State, that I never even remember that this was a to sound stupid, but I didn't even remember that this was an office. But President pro tempore of the Senate, and then it's the Speaker of the House, and then the Vice President. So I did not even know there was a President of the Senate. How exactly? I feel kind of stupid now because I'm like confused. Do we still have?
Who is the second one on the list? You said.
The second one on the list was the President of the Senate, which is Orrin Hatch right now.
Any sauce for
That
you?
sounds.
And I am unsure. Oh, look at this guy getting Wendy's on the podcast. Let's see here. Yeah.
Wendy's on the podcast. You're incorrect. It is not Wendy's on the podcast.
Oh, well, they asked for sauce, and they got 50-cent nuggets right now, at least in Albuquerque. So I was like, bow chicka wow wow.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty good idea. If I go to Wendy's, I actually like to get the 4 for $4.
I just, $4.
But,
$4 will now
Almost there,
get
guys,
you
almost there.
8 nuggets.
Thank you.
So,
Have a great night.
which is a great deal. Not to plug Wendy's, but man, I love Wendy's. And then when their nuggets are the best, especially when you have kids and it's a quick day and it's just sweet.
If people must know it for the podcast, since we're not doing video stream this time, it is Arby's.
Arby's, 50% beef, 50% soy. Arby's.
50% something. 50% something.
For real. Arby's tastes
but-
pretty good. But no, I
But I love Jon Stewart's little jokes about Arby's. It always made me laugh my ass off.
well, Jon Stewart was
Because he'd be like, Arby's.
yeah.
It's like colon cleanser, or it's like cleanser for your colon. Like, he has a whole rant like he does about Arby's. And for some reason, they never sued him or anything. They always loved him, and they always gave him free Arby's, and they were always so nice to him. And it's that shows you why Trump won the election, man. Because any press is good press, even bad press.
Depending on the situation, absolutely.
Having Jon Stewart talk about Arby's, it sold him.
No, absolutely. Did you? And that's one thing that these younger Antifa, progressive, college kids don't understand. Do you know who Dr. Jordan Peterson is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay, well, he's a Canadian psychologist, teaches college classes, he's a professor, and he vehemently protested this gender pronouns things that me and you were always talking about, and so got a comment in hot water and all that. But that's actually how I found out about him. I'm like, well, damn, all these people are saying horrible things about Peterson. Let's go check out what he has to say. And I probably would have never heard of him had they not.
It wasn't even that bad, right?
Oh no, he's awesome. He's one of my favorite guys ever. He's changed my life watching his lectures and stuff. It's incredible. I really encourage you to do it. And anybody listening, Dr. Jordan Peterson, he's incredible. Very deep. He's very cohesive thoughts. He's an amazing
The thing about
psychologist.
the whole Antifa group that kind of confuses me is clearly they're very, very angry. But, what specifically was done to them so wrong that makes them want to torture other people
I
just
don't
because they have a
know.
different view?
I think it's internalized guilt mostly. They're born rich white kids and they feel like white privilege is a real thing. And so they got to go out there and they got to, hurt anybody who thinks that it's not a thing with violence, instead of getting out there. I mean, I would love a debate show, like the start of a debate show or something where people get on there and they could scream at each other. It doesn't need to be civil. It just needs to not be violent. Just get your thoughts out there, let the other person get there, and just keep doing that. That would be great. But people can't seem to even do that. They can't seem to do that. It's like they can't even just talk, let alone yell their opinions and get angry and thrash. They have to get violent, and that is not acceptable. That is not a way that we handle things in this society between ourselves.
Ironically, our show name, when we were talking about what we were going to name our show, we expected to argue a little bit more than we probably do. So we named it Thunder Bro Show because we figured it'd be two clouds of lightning fighting each other with different opinions and stuff.
Oh, we will get there, trust me. We're just trying to be civil
There's
because
times you disagree with
we just started the podcast and we're trying to just get in the groove and learn how to do the recordings and all that. But no, I'm assuming we will get into it because we get into it good because in certain things we disagree vehemently and sometimes we're just uninformed on certain topics and it's good to learn. But I just wish people
That's
could
ironic,
do that.
though. Usually when we do get an argument, it does eventually end with the other person researching something and finding out they were wrong.
Usually.
Not always. Not always. There's some positions we still hold pretty steadfast on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's good to have core principles. You know, that's one thing that stresses me out right now with this whole, it's the right or the left, and for like 20 years now, oh, he's far right has been used as an insult. And yeah, I guess if you're all the way far on the right, that is kind of bad. That's, you know, like secret courts kind of stuff. But not a people are all over. People have opinions and personal feelings all over the place, you know? And it's just like, for instance, I suffer from PTSD. You know, I'm definitely more on the poor scale, and so people are surprised. Oh, why aren't you a Democrat? Why aren't you always looking for handouts? Well, because I want to pull myself out of this hole, and I want to better my life for my children so they can better their life, and so on and so forth. I would rather not just continue to have to take handouts from the government or anything like that, who just control your life, and you never get out of your hole. You just get to live in your hole a little more comfortably than you did without the help.
I think a Democrat would argue that some people may not have as much determination as you, or maybe more crippled by the PTSD.
I know, I
and
agree.
therefore may not have that opportunity.
And I agree completely, because generally on the conservative side of things, you'll get, oh, they just need to try harder. They just need to work harder. Oh, they just need to believe in them somewhere. And it's like, no, you don't have the condition. You know, you're not suffering from it. Like, you know, just go to any disease, any illness, anything. It's very easy to say, well, you know, just try harder, just work harder. Like, I find that a lot of parents who have depressed children or anxious children, you know, they attack the situation in oh, well, just, you know, hit that switch, just feel better. Just be happy about it. Oh, just don't worry about it. And it's like, don't you understand this is a chemical imbalance in the brain? I literally can't control the fact that I feel like crap right now. The best thing that I can do is not punch you in the face. I can control that.
Suck it up, be a man.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and those kind of things are just not always possible for people. And, you know, it's just hard when your parent doesn't.
You have to emotionally process things and mentally process things.
Yeah, and it takes time. And, you know, sometimes the answer's been staring you in the face, but until you see it from a different way or you hear it from a different source, you know, people work in funny ways. And that's mostly due, I believe, you know, all the chemicals in the brain. And that's exactly what a lot of these illnesses are. Like, to give a small description of, you know, what PTSD is generally like, people get this idea. They watch movies and a pot will drop and bam, they're back in Vietnam again, and they're just there for like minutes, or, you know, and they're literally there holding their AR or M16, and it's not always that kind of a situation. Sometimes it'll just be the pot will drop, and, you know, from the military veteran people that I know and I've seen, they may just like dive under the table and get really scared for a second, and they'll be like, oh my god.
Or like a firework going off or something, reminding them of like a mortar explosion.
Yeah, and then they'll freak out for a short period of time, and then they're just worked the fuck up, and they're crying, and they're sad, and it's horrible. It's horrible. I'm not trying to downplay it in any way, but it's not always this, oh my god, I'm back in Vietnam. Oh my god, I'm back in Iraq. Oh my god, I'm back in the car accident. Oh my god, I'm back being abused by my boyfriend. It's not always like that. It's sometimes more of a, oh my god, that thing reminded me of that incident, and now I have the rage and the fear and the anxiety that I had at that incident. I'm not there, but I feel like I'm there. I still see that I'm here, but it's, and then a thing that can happen in real life.
You relive a horror from your past.
Yes, exactly. But it's not like this. You go into this virtual reality stream. It's the flashbacks are very quick, but they are very powerful. Very, very
They
powerful.
get your blood rate to the same rate.
Yeah, your daughter will, your daughter or son will spill a glass of water. I mean, water, it's not even sticky, but then boom, you're like pissed. And I mean, it is this uncontrollable rage that is just not normal. You know, you will be like, oh, you stupid kid, how hard is it to hold a glass of water? Is it really that difficult to drink? And these are all the thoughts that are going through your head, right?
But then you got to explore, like, wait, why is the spilling of water causing me to feel like this?
But that's hard to do.
Something in your past triggers it.
That's hard to do in the moment, and now you're violently pissed. You're pissed like you just found out you were cheated on because your daughter spilled a cup of water. And then now like you're freaking upset. You probably yelled at her like, oh, what the hell? Way more than you should have for just a glass of water. Like, oh, it's no big deal. We can wipe it up. Just come on, try and be a little better out of that. But you're probably yell at her, and then you're wiping the floor, you're pissed, and then you feel bad. And then this overwhelming sense of guilt comes on you because, and this is what I find to be different in PTSD than certain other mental issues that people struggle with is the guilt part. Then you're like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? It was just a glass of water. And then you start crying, you start freaking out. You don't feel like you should bother being a human being. You don't feel at all like a human being. You just feel like...
That's a really beautiful summary, man.
Like a
I was trying to
negative...
just stay silent there because you're summarizing really well.
Because it's what it's like, to be honest. It's difficult. It's not this thing that people understand. You know, like sometimes when you're narcissistic, it'd be easier to be narcissistic because then like you don't give a shit. People are tools and you use them because you're a narcissist. That's a mental disorder that's not so bad to have. Or even a sociopath or a psychopath. Yeah, they're going to do horrible things, but you don't really feel the guilt of it. But man, when you have depression or anxiety or PTSD or borderline personality disorder or anything, it seems like there's just this rampant guilt when you have an episode or something and you can't even express the emotion. Like it's in your heart. It's this black coal. And you want to tell your wife, you want to tell your kid, well, depending on the age, you want to express this emotion so they understand and you can feel better, but you just can't. And then now you're more angry, and then they don't understand, and then you're more angry, and and then you feel guilty. It's just vicious circle, and then you'll be sitting there crying, and people they don't understand, why can't this person do this thing? It was just going to the grocery store.
You want to feel better, but you're failing and trying.
Yeah.
Processing.
And that seems to be a little bit of a difference, in my opinion, in PTSD versus some of the other issues. Because in some of the other issues, it seems like you're just constantly hopeless. Things will never get better. Whereas in PTSD, it's almost like you'll have the hope that things will get better and you'll work through it, and then something will just bring you back. A flashback or something will bring you back, and then boom, you're right back at ground zero again. It's not that you don't want to go. It's like it just feels like you can't. Like to tell you a small story, for instance, I'm not a big trick-or-treater. I don't like Halloween much, but my kids are young, so we let them go. And we were walking out the door. The kids were good to go. Me and my wife were good to go. Got my my jacket and everything, and I just, as soon as we left the house, I couldn't even get away from the driveway. And I just started breaking down crying, and I just couldn't do it. I don't know. There's this hypervigilance that you get with PTSD, where you are just so worried that something is going to happen, and you generally try to be so ready for that thing to happen. Don't put your backs to doors. Don't, drive on the freeway at certain times. It depends. Everybody's different. It depends what caused your issues and what triggers you.
Don't repeat the same experience. That you were. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so you just start avoiding these things. And so I couldn't even leave the driveway when my daughter went trick-or-treating, because I freaked out. So I just kind of stood there while she went up and down the houses that I could see with my wife. And it's just a horrifying experience. It's a horrifying experience. You can't take your daughter trick-or-treating.
It would have been one thing but it would have been one thing if you'd been like, oh, come back inside and took the opportunity to have trick-or-treating. You know what I mean? For at least she got to have an experience of trick-or-treating, even though Daddy didn't get to be right there with her every second. It doesn't. She still got to have the experience, Well, some people, it's so crippling that kids can't even experience anything like that.
Yeah, well, and that's the hardest part is, having things like PTSD is very difficult on your spouse, and they're your roots, so that's, you very much want them to just come inside and nobody goes trick-or-treating and y'all just help Daddy calm down kind of a situation, And,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's like your initial reaction, but you've grown so you've dealt with this a lot of years now.
Yeah,
and you've grown to be able to at least function with it to some degree, but some people are still, it's crippling.
And it is, and that's why, like therapy is very important. I encourage people to do therapy. And I mean, this was with therapy and I still couldn't do this, but it definitely helps. Helps you get through things. It helps you process things that just, because your spouse is not going to talk to you. What people don't understand is, and it shouldn't be this way, but it is this way. As much as we all love our spouses, you're playing this game of war with your spouse, There's like a tit for tat there, and that's really not helpful.
Like, who did more today?
Yeah.
And I did this much today for our... Once you have kids, it's more like I put this much investment into the family bank.
Yes.
Well, I put this much investment into the family bank.
Exactly, and it's very hard to put anything...
Not always, but there are moments of that, yeah.
And it's very hard to put anything into that family bank when you have PTSD, It's hard when... I mean, like, you know, it's just difficult. Like when one of your children will cry, and it just, boom, flashback. And the worst part is, you're not even sure why you're flashing back, but it's too late. You're angry, you're upset, you're done. And it's, yeah, so it's really hard to put into that family bank
So,
while you were
on
having
a side topic,
any of the issues, you know.
this is a question related to that. When you smoke, since you use medical marijuana for that particular problem, does that prevent your flashbacks from occurring, or does it lessen the intensity of the flashback, or how exactly do you think the marijuana helps you with it?
It mostly just lessens everything. I wouldn't say it removes anything. If I did not have medical marijuana, right now, I feel that I would probably have to like be in constant therapy. I mean, almost on like a daily basis, because it would just be so hard to get through any day. Because with nothing to bring you down, to ground you, like, see, the biggest thing with the PTSD is you kind of just go away. And I'm not saying you go away in a sense of you're not here anymore. Oh, you're still very much here. You're just here. You're emotionally not here. And without something to bring you back down to that base level of, okay, I'm alive. Okay, nobody's breaking into the house. Okay, nobody's. I mean, I cannot describe these hypervigilant things to you. The thoughts that roll through your head, like this is, no kids should be listening. Not that anybody has, kids massively listening.
No, I was gonna say we have
an
an explicit rating.
I mean,
so.
With the hypervigilance and the world that we live in, you worry about things like people coming in and raping and murdering your wife, and like killing your kids or kidnapping them and selling them on the black market. I mean, the things that come through your head, the vile, disgusting thoughts, when you're so hyper vigilant, it's like you're always like right now, Mar, I'm getting really worked up right now, like just even talking
Discussing
about that
those things.
yes.
I know. I'm not trying. Yeah, I was gonna say I was like trying to cut in, like, maybe.
No, and it's okay.
It's something you want to be conscious of. It's good that you've opened up a lot about it, and you've communicated it in a very good way, and you did it in a recording, which is amazing because there's a lot of other people in the world who feel the exact same way you do. They may not process it the same way you do, and they don't have the same triggers as you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they struggle with the same demon, and being able to discuss it the way you do is probably going to help other people. And even if it doesn't help other people, it will help people who don't experience it to understand it better.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And that's why I find this whole, thought policing and things that the progressive left is trying to do very offensive. Because, I suffer from PTSD. So do many people and other issues. And they have real triggers, real unmistakable triggers. And then so you have these kids going, oh, that word triggers me. That word gets me mad. Well, sure it does, because it pisses you off a little bit. Well, do something about it. Do something nonviolent about it. Don't just, oh, he can't say that word because it upsets me. And I'm sorry, okay, as a person who suffers from PTSD, 9 times out of 10, a single word is not going to trigger you. Okay, 9 times out of 10. But yeah, maybe some things, but a phrase, well, like a whole event might trigger you. A whole... like an incident.
That's what I would think.
A whole incident, like, if you grew up in a household with where you were constantly neglected and constantly ignored in your adult life,
being alone would probably trigger you.
Or feeling unheard and stuff. That may really get that specific person from their anxieties there, or if they suffer with that may really trigger their specific issues. And those are real things. But that's why when I hear, these thought policing about, oh, if you call him a he'll be triggered and then he'll get so sad he'll go commit suicide. It's like, no, that's just not true on its face. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Well, now we got to get into mine. Oh,
but
man.
no. Will he?
If you're getting into your demons,
but bear with me. Will he get a little depressed? Maybe. I understand that. Depression's a horrible monster. But I mean, over somebody calling him a he when he's trying to be a transgender girl, but looks mostly like a guy, and somebody called him a he. It's a mistake. I mean, it happens.
Okay.
It happens. I just wish people could be more... It's not a trigger event, okay? It's not like somebody dropping a ceramic dish in the kitchen and their husband, was blown up from an IED or something. That must be vicious for that guy. But it's just not. It's just not. But... I mean, you obviously want to expound on some transgender topics here because you have your own issues that are not PTSD, but since we segued into transgenderism.
Yeah, I was going to say, are getting into the tougher issues of our lives, which is something that we did this podcast for, was to discuss that not everything is so simple and black and white. Like Josh voted for Trump, I'm a libertarian, yet we have these interesting positions on both ends. And so my thing is that growing up, I was not aware of what transsexualism was, but I always wanted to be a girl, like for as long as I can remember. And then eventually I found out what transsexualism was, and I just identified myself as that for the longest time. And then occasionally, as I got older and more privacy, I was able to cross-dress for a couple of years, and you and my sister, and our sister rather, were witness and privy to that. And you never approved per se, but you at least understood and left me alone. And then as time went on and I got older, I'm still a man, and I'm married and I have kids. I don't want to say I came to terms with it, but I realized that what current science has, the answer they have, which is a plastic surgery and external hormone modification, it's not an answer for the problems that we're experiencing here. I feel that it's some people it helps them, and good for them, and there's people that find help, but the suicide rate is still very high for transgendered people. And so I'm kind of hoping that once we discover what causes PTSD and clinical depression and all that, we unlock the keys to the brain. Once that happens, I feel like the transgender thing and all those issues are going to get fixed all at the same time. But we're not there yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a big thing to unpack for sure. But I mean, I can agree. I think it's probably something in the brain. And people get so upset when you say that, oh, it's a mental illness. No, it's not. I mean, it really is. I mean, PTSD in a way is a mental illness. A trauma or multiple traumas happened. Your brain could not electronically cope with these traumas. Now you're having issues. Some people temporary, some people
It's the same thing as an allergy.
Yes. Well, I guess in a way, actually, that's a very good way of putting it. I never looked at it that way.
It's a mental allergy.
So these people who do not feel comfortable in their skin, they're a boy, they have a penis, but they are not comfortable, having sex with women. They don't really like women, or they kind of like women, but they kind of like guys, and they're just, you know what I mean? Okay, fine, so you're bisexual or whatever, that's great, but I mean, you are a guy. Now, do you want to become a woman? Okay, then go become a woman. I'll honor that and I'll respect that and I'll call you your name and I'll refer to you as a she. Sure, why not? That's that's the way every human should be. But when you just woke up that morning and put on makeup and brushed your hair nice and walked out and now you're a girl today, but yesterday you were just a boy, no, I can't have that. I can't have that. That's not the way biology works. You're a guy, you're a girl who wants to either be a guy or a girl. And you're either straight, gay, or bisexual, or I guess maybe animal.
They've introduced
attracted to animals as well,
introduced
or attracted to nobody.
A bunch,
but they're getting out of control.
They've introduced a bunch of different letters. Like I remember at first it was LGB or LGBT, and then it was LGBTQ. Now it's LGBTQ something I can't even remember.
Oh, and there's so many different ones too. Yeah, that people are trying to get into there, pansexual.
I can't even
asexual.
understand. I can't even. Well, no, those are terms to describe whether or not your sexuality.
Yeah.
That's not your identity. How you identify.
Wolves, but that's kind of is now. That's from my understanding. That's what they're trying to do. And I mean, maybe you can expound a little bit more on this. Like I said, having your personal transgender issues, I'm sure. That'd be good for people. People like to hear things like that. But it seems like that's what they're trying to do. You are a pansexual, or you are intersexed, or you are asexual, or you are lesbian, or you are gay, or you are bi, or you're trans. It seems like they're just trying to add.
Well, I guess I gotta specify that I'm married to a woman.
Well, no,
and I fathered 2 children.
But you haven't pursued these things like some of these people have. They get up, they go out into the world as women one day, and then as men the next day. Poorly. Not that that should matter.
I have cross-dressed for sure. That definitely happened. And I went out and pretended, but I never fooled a man to try to attract him, to make him like me or anything. I never pretended to be a woman.
Oh, we still got you, Tony.
What happens when a woman's walking around? How do people treat you differently? How how is it in general? What is the whole experience like? And I have a lot of opinions about that. That's obviously a separate podcast
No,
episode,
I mean, I definitely
but
think I think you could go back and you could go into it a little. I think we have a little more time here because I definitely have some things that I would like some people to understand more that I just don't ever see often talked about online. And maybe it is, and maybe I just don't go to those dark corners of the world. But so here you go. So today, you're married, you got 2 kids, married to a woman, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, what was the dream? So you're 17 years old, and you're taking hormones, and and you want to become a woman. So what's the goal? So now you're a woman. So what? I mean, I guess that's the question a lot of people go. So how does that work? Straight woman, gay woman, you know what I'm saying?
in my case, I was wanting to be a lesbian, I think. Men in general, I've had a lot of trouble getting along with men. Like, especially the more manly, the more masculine, the more intimidated I am. It always just makes me much more uncomfortable. So, in my life, the jobs I've chosen and pursued and anything that I've done that's always made me more comfortable is around women. I've always preferred to be around them, and when I work more at ease with them. And, you know,
No,
I guess that's the best way to describe it. And it just kind of reinforced it a little bit for me.
no. Why do you think that is? That the more masculine of the guy, the more uncomfortable you feel. Is it more you think of because you're not a masculine guy and you feel that you should be a masculine guy, or, I mean, I guess what's the or? I guess because I'm unsure. Because me personally, when I'm around guys who are tougher than me, I'm very like, oh man, I gotta toughen up. He's gotta kick my ass, you know.
See,
So-
I mean, I guess the best way to describe it for me would be like, I don't understand, like, why that's important to them. It doesn't seem like something that's important to me. Like, there's a certain level of surliness and toughness I guess you have to have, but like, there's like a hyperness of it to men that I just never connected with. There's this competitive, like, I guess I get it a little bit myself with video games. That's like, I guess, where I get the manliest is in my competitiveness with video games, where I get real hyper, like, oh, don't mess with me. And I start taunting and poking and with people, but like, I see sports, like people in sports and doing sports and things, and I see this manly camaraderie that everybody has and this manly competitiveness, and I don't understand it. I kind of just sit there and I'm like, well, that's stupid. And that's usually a woman's reaction.
Fair
So-
point. No, I can understand that. I can understand that. There is a. Well, I mean, it's just the men and women are both kind of gender pack natured a little bit. So yeah, the women pack together, and as guys would say, the clucking chickens, and the guys go off and do whatever the guys do. So I can understand it, but I mean. So it was more of let's play fucking ultimate frisbee. Oh, let's do these things, and it's like, I'd rather not, basically, because I mean, I feel that way. I'm not a sports, I'm not super fit and a sports playing guy. But at the same time, I never really wanted to be a woman. I guess I'm trying to figure out where does that segue. At what point were you like, well, this is more than just. I'm a nerdy Dungeons and Dragons kind of guy who, isn't doing the sports.
Plays female characters a lot or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
To the well, hey, maybe I'm actually a transsexual or a transgender, or something like that. Like, because I'm just confused on that. And I think a lot of people would be as well.
For me personally, it just came down to the fact that I didn't feel connected with myself. Like, I didn't feel connected with my gender. Like, all other men seem to act very different than I do, and seem to have very different priorities and behaviors. And when you can't connect with people like yourself, you just feel very ostracized and loner and alone. Like, well, what am I? Why am I here? Why am I like this? What's going on? And part of me, when I sit there and we've talked about with your PTSD problems earlier and stuff too, is I'm starting to realize as I get older now that a lot of we all have various mental problems, and it manifests in us in different ways, and we're all trying to deal with them in different ways too, you know. But some of us have a better grip on it than others, and some people's problems are more intense than other people's problems. But we're all just trying to cope with our demons, essentially.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I guess I wonder because it's like I said, it's the same thing for me. I've overly, super tough guys, military men and stuff. I feel like out of the gang because it's like, well, you're not super sporty, you don't play sports. You're not super fit. I'm not really.
We're nerds. We're definitely nerds. There's that. But I mean, I don't think it was my being a nerd that made me feel like, oh, well, you have to be a woman. I've met nerds.
I guess it's just.
I
It's
didn't
not that I
even
don't.
connect with nerds 100% either, though. I never quite fit in. I never fit in with the slacker potheads. I never fit in with the super nerds. I never fit in with
Yeah.
the political crowd. Like, the only thing I ever fit in with was usually large groups of females.
Well, I mean, as a child, I was the same way. I mean, super, super young. I was never one of those kids who's like, oh, girls have cooties. I was like, no, girls are easy to handle.
Yeah,
Guys-
they're fine. They're fun. They do certain other stuff. There's like the games they played never bothered me. I never felt like some guys would always be like, "Oh my god, I hated playing house." I was like, I didn't really care about house. I enjoyed playing house.
Yeah, it was
I
like,
didn't mind playing with dolls with a girl. I played with my own action figures too. Sometimes we'd introduce both.
I gotta admit,
like-
it's better than like being the fat kid who gets hit by the dodgeball first and then just standing there. I mean, come on, house is much better than
Yeah.
that. At least you get to play some
completely agree.
make believe as a kid and absolutely no, that is true. The girls always managed to be, when you're a kid anyway, very inclusive, and I hate that term because it's kind of been like co-opted by these damn progressives, but yeah, they always do seem to be very inclusive. It's like, well, it's a game, so everybody should have fun. Even losing should be kind of fun. And when
Yeah,
boys,
it's
when
not like a
boys
loser needs to
compete-
get a trophy, but he should have fun.
Yeah, exactly. But when boys compete, no. It's not even really. It's not a game. You know what I'm saying? When girls compete, it's a game. When guys compete, they compete. They are climbing the local social hierarchy. Who's the fastest?
Yeah.
Who's the strongest? Who's the toughest? Okay, boom, 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 boom. And then those guys,
And they take it incredibly seriously.
yes.
And it's a disconnect I have that I can't 100% relate to. So some people, have said to me, not yourself, there's a lot of people who question the whole transgender thing and insult me. I get it all the time from, the one person who we talk about who posts on Facebook and is a very heavy libertarian and posts 20 times whose name shall not be named? You know who I'm referring to?
Like never Trump, non-aggression policy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that one. That's the guy I'm referring to. He and me the only time I've ever debated him was when he refused to even call Bradley Manning Chelsea, and Chelsea had legally changed her name from Bradley to Chelsea. Now, you don't have to use the pronoun change, but damn, a legal name change, you won't even honor that because you don't agree with transgenderism. I thought that was a little too harsh.
Yeah, well, it is. It is harsh because I don't really agree with transgenderism. I don't. I think same thing. It's a mental issue, just like my PTSD, just like anybody else's personal issues. But I do think it is. But however, how dare I sit here and pack a bowl of glue to keep my anxieties down while we do this podcast, because that's the issue that I have with PTSD, and a transgender person not be able to cut their dick off and take some hormones. I mean, that's not for me to say.
No.
And I find it very
I
funny.
couldn't find that to be the answer for myself personally.
Well, and
no. It just didn't seem
I actually,
or real enough.
well, I like where you're going with the person you brought up. They shall not be named, obviously, but because that said person is extremely libertarian, extremely people can do what people want to do, and the government can't
Volunteerism.
mandate things, and so I'm like, so you're gonna be the dick who won't just call this person by their new name?
Yep.
I mean,
There's
think
some
about that.
hypocrisy there.
It's
He's
kinda
very
like,
religious. He's very religious, so his libertarianism is fighting against his Christianity and his Christian values. And I get that, but it's weird that he can't be more honest with himself about it. So that was the only thing I got in a debate with him, and I settled on that. I just wanted him. He did agree. I got him to agree that he should call that person Chelsea, But I could not get him to agree about pronouns, and that's all good and well. I'll take the win as what I can get it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I'm surprised there was such hypocrisy there. You normally in the libertarian community, generally you find very open. Sure, what you want me to call
There
you?
are some socially conservative libertarians. For
Yeah,
sure.
but I don't know. It really upsets me because it's like, so you expect, because this said person's very big on voluntarism to the listeners. So you expect people to just do their part, right, and everything will be fine, but you can't do your part by calling this tranny Chelsea. That's a simple part, dude. That's simple. You're not being asked to like take part in like
He's
sexual
doing it on ethics, so it's like an
escapades.
asshole
Well, okay,
level.
but I am super religious too. Okay, I believe in Jesus Christ. You know, up from the grave saves us. That's what it's about. But what happened to the love here? What happened to
Doesn't
the
have to
love
conflict
here?
with your belief that some people might have some gender issues, or PTSD, or clinical depression. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. People don't know anybody's issues. And so, like I said, but I'm very much against transgender. So people are probably like, well, wait, how can you be against transgender but pro calling their name? Because I just don't want this taught to like 7-year-old children in schools.
Yeah, you're talking about how they were trying to convert people at very young ages and talk to them about at young ages in schools. And we have kids, and even in my case, it's like, I don't want that to be something that is like, well, how do you feel? Like, I want it to be more of an environment as when people are uncomfortable about this, and they can talk to their teachers, they can talk to their families. Like, I didn't even want to talk to my mom because I thought I was going to get sent to some gay camp.
But I do agree with that. I do agree with where you're going. But please continue. Yeah, they should be able to talk about it.
That's just the thing, but I don't think that it should be like this mandated conversation that every child is having and question, and then they fill in a form of, do you want to be a boy or a girl? Oh, you do? Well, let's hop in this machine and change that real quick. And then the parent comes home and they're like, oh, shit, I have a daughter now. Or I have a son. Like, I don't know if that's really the approach. If that's where we're going, I'm kind of terrified. You know, I hope that's not where we're going with it. Because these are children. And my son wants to be carried down like a princess one day, and then he wants me to carry him upside down while he's sitting there punching me and we're wrestling the next day.
Exactly.
Kids don't understand exactly what they want. They want to experience as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
So if there was like a temporary way to do it, and it's like, oh, well, my son wants to be a girl today, or like if they had a day in school where everybody switched genders and then it all went back, I'd be game for that if it was possible and safe.
No,
you know?
I can't, because then now you have a tax-paid mandatory in-school gender switch day, and I can't get behind that.
Okay, well, I can't expect you to 100% get behind that, but I just mean like that to me is more fair than having these deep adult. It's like asking 5-year-olds. Okay, it's like communism kind of like. Well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Okay, that's what you want to be. All right. Well, here's what we're gonna do now. You know, you're gonna be that for the rest of your life. And you shouldn't do that with gender. You shouldn't do that with somebody's job, and you shouldn't do that with gender, and you shouldn't do that with sexuality. That's like saying, okay, you said you're straight now, you have to fuck women the rest of your life. You can never consider being gay or bi or anything. And it's like, that's not how it works. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, some people discover this stuff way later in their life.
Yes, absolutely. They come from sheltered homes and things like that. And no, absolutely. But see, I mean, how would that even work? That's, it seems like a tall order to have places where people can be open and discuss it, but at the same time, because like you said, you felt, it's like, okay, so like I knew that you were kind of like squirrely and girly and you whatever, but you felt bringing these kind of things up to mom that you would, our mother, that you would get the extent off to like a gay camp, and I cannot fault you for that because, she tried to have me exercised. I mean,
she tried to have me exercise, Josh.
Me as well. She tried to have me exercised. Yeah. And it's just like if you guys ever look up Bob Larson, he's been on a couple funny episodes of some shows and Ghost Hunters and crap like that and whatnot. We met Bob Larson. Our mother took us to him to try to see if we were possessed by demons. And don't get me wrong, our mother's not like it's not like a Mike Martin kind of thing. She's not evil. Her intentions are good. She just has a heavy belief in the spiritual realm that demons are much more active than, say, most Christians would believe. And I kind of would agree with that statement a little bit, but I mean, you can't just blame the devil for your bad parenting. You cannot be a bad parent who ruined your children and then be like, "Oh, the devil's in you, boy." You can't do that. That's hypocrisy. And so
People
that's
do
why
that all the time now.
I know they do, and
I
that's
mean,
why
that's been going on for hundreds of years.
yeah. Well, that's why your
That would
fear
be
was
a solid.
valid. You know, that's why your whole gay camp fear was
Yeah.
kind of valid, because I don't know if gay camps were like a real thing or if there was tons of them, but I mean,
They are a real thing, and they still exist.
yeah, so that doesn't sound great. Like, so let me get this straight. A bunch of guys like hazing me is gonna turn me straight? That doesn't sound right. If I'm already almost gay, won't they just put me over the edge?
Yeah, it's like they're just gonna push you right over. No, I get that part. Yeah, it's true. And it's really messed up.
But I think it has to start at home. If you are more open to talk about these issues at home and in a way where you don't press them on your children, that's the
Yeah.
best place. But school is
The
not
biggest
the
thing I
rest.
could suggest.
I mean, school's not the
is-
right place, especially because I mean they're doing this at like 7 years old now. Have you heard about this gender unicorn stuff? I mean, it's getting ridiculous. They don't even have
There are
hormones
signs,
pumping.
though. There are signs, though, that you can do. Like, let's just have an honest conversation here. Like,
No, absolutely.
there's
That's why we
incidents
started the podcast.
Early on, right? Like, you remember, like, the one time I snuck up to my sister's room and I stole some of her lipstick, and it was, like, hard to wash off this nude lipstick, and then I had to go to like, Boy Scout clubs to church later that day, and it was still on me. Like, there was various incidences where, like, there was events that my sister, or our sister, and our mother should have noticed that I was struggling with gender. It was
Okay.
very obvious. And instead of talking to me about it at all, or acknowledging it at all, it was like shunned.
But
And because of that silence and absence, you don't solve the problems that way. You just make them grow. Figuring out my own answers then, you know?
But no, absolutely. See, the thing there that I guess with our specific situation is, I mean, our sister, same sister, obviously. I was in.
Who we love very much.
Yeah, absolutely. She's awesome. But I mean, she used to put me in dresses and stuff at like 5 years old and 6 years old. Like, so I mean, and
As many sisters
we
do
had-
to their brothers, by the
we
way.
had- we had a
This is usually
friend-
pretty normal sister behavior.
Yeah, kind of, pretty much, yeah. And our friend down the street, I won't name her. You absolutely would remember her. Real fun girl
Yeah.
we hung out with. I let her put makeup on me.
I know. I already know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I
she was a
figured
cool
it
girl.
would
But
up.
see, but I did it because I guess I was fucking, man.
You're trying to show off.
I must
you
have been
had a
like,
crush on her.
no, yeah, exactly. I must have been like horny from birth because it was if I let her put makeup on me, then maybe she'll touch my penis. And I don't know how a young, like 10
Terrible. You know, I can vouch for that. You were interested in it before me, and I'm older than you. That's so messed up.
yeah.
But yeah,
And so it's like, how does this 10-year-old
ever
boy,
since a young age.
yeah, how does this 10-year-old boy go from, well, if I let this girl put makeup onto me, we'll have sex? So it just shows you how naive
You didn't
I
even know what
was.
sex was, but you
Not
knew
really.
that you had some private parts you wanted touched.
Well, I mean, I had a shot. That's definitely a time for another podcast on those specific ones. But no, absolutely, yeah, you're old enough to know, but that's another reason that you should talk with your kids. I think the sex talk should be at home. The birds and the bees should be at home.
Yeah.
When your kid is like 10, 12, hormones pumping, and he's kind of gay or kind of not, or
My mom,
then
well,
start
I
talking
don't know
about
what mom did
those
with
kinds of
you.
things.
We were raised by a single mom, but I just got handed a book about sex. I remember she
I
handed
got
me this
nothing.
Christian book that was written by some pastor about what sex was and what to expect. And,
No. This is most of the reason I think it's important to talk to your kids because I didn't even get that.
I think she expected me to tell you, and I mean, we had some brotherly chats, but damn, that's kind of messed up.
I mean, it's horrible how you learn sex. I mean, basically, was it Bible camp, like a church Bible camp? You know, where you stay for like over weekends or 5 days or something, and it's actually a pretty fun time. But
It's usually where people lose their virginity.
the counselor passes out, and you're like 12 years old. It's like, oh, girls have
People sneak over to the girl's side.
no, not even that, but girls have a butt crack that goes all the way around to the front. That's like the first thing I learned about girls, because like nobody told me nothing at home. Like, are you serious? Are you serious? So I find it's very important to talk to your kids. I mean, there's different ages for every kid. Every kid's maturity is different, obviously.
No, it's messed up. It's funny how you worded it. That's exactly how it was as a kid, too.
Yeah, and it's like, what?
And then, you have the I show you mine if you show me yours moment. And everything.
Yeah, and then-
And we all try to erase those moments from our lives, but gender is a very important part of discovering and understanding, but there's also structuring to
No,
it.
absolutely, absolutely. But and then
Yeah.
you know you look into pornography because it's like, well, nobody else is teaching me, so I can learn what sex is from pornography.
That's the
And
worst way to learn
yes,
about the opposite
yes,
gender, though.
at a young age, it's horrible. It scars you for life. Trust me, it's not great. Learning like okay, so that's what a vagina looks like from pornography. That's
Because then all of
kind
a sudden
of
it's like,
horrible.
wait, I'm supposed to put my what in there?
Well,
What? And then all of a sudden it clicks, and you're like, wait, that's how babies are made. Oh, and like all of a sudden it clicks.
it does connect
And
you kind
I
of
remember
fast.
I was disgusted for like a week. I'm like, that's fucking disgusting.
Well, I don't know
And
about.
then later I kind of warmed up to it real quick. Like all of a sudden I was like totally cool with it after that.
I don't. It was weird. No, definitely the first pornography incident at a young age is weird. It's like wait, what? Because if you get some hardcore porn, you're like, wait, this doesn't seem like what sex should be.
It looks violent.
But yeah, it looks violent.
Yeah, it seems like violent.
But then you're kind of turned on, so you're like, wait, what's going on here? And so it confuses you. So I really think it should be talked about at home for sure, not learned through pornography. Because, oh dear God, man, young kids who learn about sex through pornography it's not the best.
So essentially you guys are hearing two people who, had a lot of issues when they were raised. Pretty much understanding life as adults and how they processed it. And the issues that they have and how they dealt with their issues. But I mean, on the real, for those who have really listened, and if we edit this, because we're going to have to cut out, me going to Arby's and my signals cutting out on the highway at various points and having to pay a toll. But we touched on some really good stuff on this episode. There was you talking very openly and pretty clearly about some of your PTSD experiences. There's me talking about my transgendered experiences. And it just weighs on a very, very deep level. It's just powerful stuff.
Well, I mean, just more reason, like I said, to be open at home with your children. I think on both topics, something like PTSD and something like transgenderism. I mean, when a trauma happens to a child that's young, it's important for that child to know that they're safe, that they're protected, that you love them. It's
Otherwise, it might haunt them all the way to adulthood.
That PTSD that could have been avoided, instead of being avoided, turned into like damn complex PTSD because then they have guilt and then they have all these other issues. So yeah, absolutely. And with transgenderism, I just when you talk to it at home, the parents can be open, and that seems to be what the killer is. You've got these people like disowning their kids, and that's horrible. And
that's what I expected, as you know. I kind of expected since I was raised in a religious family that was going to happen once I announced my intentions. That did not happen, but
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and it's a fair fear, especially back. I mean, this is 99, 98 kind of times, 2000s. I mean, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but it really
doesn't seem that long ago.
People were not quite that open about just transgenderism in general. It was more of a, oh, that person's a transvestite, or oh, that person's a drag queen. It was not a very open topic, and that's why it's good that it's getting more open now, because maybe we as parents and this generation, with so that the few,
this a little bit more realistically.
Yeah, exactly. With the few children who are transgender, yeah, that our generation can maybe approach it a little bit more. Well, maybe you are, maybe you're not. Blah 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 blah. Let's
For me,
explore
here's
it a
the
little bit.
part that I would ask every transgender and non-transgender person if I had one question for them. And it's something that a close transgender friend of mine, who will remain nameless, but it was like, I call it he's my like transgender mother. Like, it's to this day, no, we're very close to this day. And like, he's helped me through some of the most messed up and toughest times in my life. Like some really dark, like sometimes suicidal times, like really bad days. And he asked me, and this is the same question I think applies to everybody. If there was a pill that could come out and it would make you perfectly normal or happy with who you are and how you are, and you wouldn't have any desire to be the opposite gender, would you take it?
That's an interesting thing. So, I mean, what was your answer then?
Well, I mean, like, there's a part of me, I don't know if I'd be the same person anymore because those experiences are part of what dictated who I am today. would I be a completely different person? Would I erase and not exist and then reemerge as somebody else entirely? So part of me was like, it was almost like, do you want to commit suicide in a different way?
Yeah,
For me.
no,
Now, other people may
absolutely.
answer that question. People may answer that question a little differently, but I wasn't sure. So what I think would be ideal is for us to study the brain more. I think that all of this is key to the brain. You know, something's happening in people's brains who are transgender. That's not saying anything bad. I'm not saying we're deficient people, because we're not. Everybody is just human, and we all have different things that hold us back in little ways, and some things that enhance us, which is a separate conversation too. Because
Yeah.
different things that we have weaknesses enhance us in other ways too, or that people would consider a weakness rather. So we need to study the brain more. We need to understand this. We need to unlock this, because we know so little about the brain. And I think once we start to unlock that, we're going to start really flying with technology and everything and understanding. And a lot of these things are going to seem like children's problems.
I don't know. I think it is more difficult than that, because you have the issue of, I mean, can the soul be transgender? I mean, is that what we're talking here? Because I hear so many people that it's very, oh, the brain is the brain, and the brain is not a female brain, it's not a male brain. Oh, now it is. Now it's not. Like, to justify, homosexuality and transgenderism and things like that, just to get it sorted so they can understand it better. And I'm like, well, which
you
is
want
it? Is
my
there a
three
gender,
theories on it?
is there a gendered brain, or is there not a gendered
Okay.
brain? Because, I mean, I
There's
imagine there is.
there's my three
Because
theories.
biology's
I'm
biology.
going to go through them
but-
very quickly, because we're running really, really long. This is an incredibly long episode.
It's
We
been
did
a
some
great
good materials.
Yeah, this has been a great podcast. Are you kidding me? We're almost
Okay.
like 2 hours. This has been excellent.
So, but anyway, the thing I was going to say is, theory number one is, this is going against Christian beliefs, but this is, again, theories. If reincarnation exists, that transgendered people are people who were at one gender for many incarnations and are now experiencing an incarnation as the other gender, and they're not dealing with the adjustment very well. That's theory number one for me. Theory number two is, because of all the pollution and food and changes and diet changes and the way we live and electronics and everything else and radio waves around us and everything, that some people are processing things differently, and that's where we're getting like all these different types of mental issues and different desires and everything that went off of the analog caveman male female fucking and humping thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that could be the cause. So I'm curious as to what it is that started it all. And then, like, is it going, as long as it doesn't kill us as a species, I don't really care. But I just don't want it to wipe us out as a species. Like, for instance, let's say if we're going towards a pattern, and this is going to be conspiracy theory. I don't think this is what's happening. But let's just say hypothetically that all of a sudden everybody became gay or like monosexual, where they didn't want to have sex with anybody, they just masturbate all the time. We would die. Some
Yes.
people need to be heterosexual, or we need to find a way to procreate in like some artificial wombs so that people can keep coming into existence, which is a little too that book for me that I can't remember the title.
Well, there's a movie,
There's that
Brave
one
New
book
World.
Yeah, Brave New World. That's it. Yeah.
okay,
it's
that's a
not
book
the
as
movie,
well,
there's a
I
book
believe,
called Brave
yeah.
New World. Yeah.
And
And it's horrifying.
it is. They don't.
It's horrifying, but
Well, we're kind of there.
that's the only way I can see to deal with it.
Well, we're kind of there. I mean, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I mean, we're kind of there. Like, you have certain places in the world right now who are trying to, like, who have pushed that mother and father be offensive words and that you shouldn't and can't say them because of the people who can't be mother and fathers, who aren't mother and fathers, or things like that. I mean, we are, like, there. And if you look into, like, CRISPR gene technology, oh, you want your kid to have blue eyes, green eyes, blah, 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 blah.
Designer babies, yeah,
I
boy,
mean,
girl, whatever.
yeah, you will
Well,
just...
that might create a new kind of transgender. Because it's like, oh, I want a daughter. Okay, we pumped the female genes in. It's a girl now.
Yes,
And then all of a sudden it comes out, and they're
it's a
like,
boy.
oh my god!
Yes.
Yeah. So but see, technically that description is how every transgender person feels though, Josh, just so you know. It's just like, that would be like a scientifically proven use of it though.
No, I in a weird way, I can kind of understand. I feel how transgenders feel well, because I feel broken. With having the PTSD, I feel
And so does
broken.
transgender people, but they just want to find happiness. And they think that that's what will do it. And some people, they find happiness as the opposite gender. And some people commit suicide.
And that makes me really sad because that means there was something else wrong too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a shame. It's a shame because I've struggled with that, and I'll be honest. Sometimes, when I'll be having a PTSD episode, I'll sit there and I'll just be like, you should just kill yourself. Like, what's the point of this?
It's not. You should never give up, even though you feel like you want to give up. Because, dude, I've totally wanted to give up. This is a messed up world we live in sometimes, and people do terrible things to each other, and people do terrible things for money, and I've never seen anything like this. It's surreal. But at the same time, people can be really good. I've seen certain people, and least amongst us, the poorest and the humblest little religion, and do great.
I think we're going to have to get you to repeat yourself there, Tony. If you are still with us. Oh, did we lose him? I think we lost him. Well, that's a crappy note to kind of lose him on, I must say. Maybe we will get him back. I do not. Oh, here we go. Do we have you back with us, Tony?
Yeah, did you hear me?
No, we lost you. You broke up pretty bad there from what sounded like when you left the car. Something about humblest religions.
I'm not. Well, I was saying that the humblest religions and everything else can wind up changing the world in such a way that it brings me back from the brink. That like there's terrible things that happen, terrible groups of people that accomplish terrible things, but on the same front, there's groups that accomplish amazing things and things with kindness and love.
Yeah, it's hard to see that sometimes. It really is. What honestly gave me a little hope in the world recently, which was weird, was I thought about plants growing, from these tiny little seeds into these massive trees, and I was like, that's just incredible, just with water. You're dinging pretty loud there, bud.
Yeah, sorry, here, just 1 second. I realized that my car was running out of gas and I had 1 mile. So then the podcast would go a lot longer because I'd be sitting stranded and have a lot of free time.
Oh, almost running out of gas on the podcast. Well, it has been a good one, and I mean, it has been a nice long one. It is a shame it had to be in the car.
Yeah, my audio quality is going to be shit.
Yeah, mine's been kind of bad lately, too. Hopefully it'll be better this time. But I mean, we're working on it. We'll get there. But thanks for joining us, everybody. It's been a good time. We'll try to cut out some of the smaller chunks for more specific parts and throw them up on the YouTube channel. So if people are interested in that.
Yeah. And the podcast will be uploaded onto thunderbroshow.com as well if you're subscribed to the podcast catcher or on Apple Podcasts as well. I know I talked a little bit about us doing a contest and what gift cards. Nobody emailed us or reached out to us at all. And it's weird because there's people downloading the show on our website. Like, we have like gigabytes pulling from the website. So people are definitely downloading the show there too. And it's just like, okay, well, I mean, I would like to do a contest. And then I didn't check recently, but I didn't see any Apple reviews either. So it's just like, if anybody does any, it would be proactive to the contest that we would do anyway. So if that's what's holding you back from writing a review or giving us feedback, don't let that stop you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too worried about it. It just saves us money. Not to be that way, but
yeah. Well, I like to get people involved, and communities and stuff is really where the power comes in.
Oh, absolutely.
Once people have a community, all of a sudden somebody's like, hey, this is happening here, and then you throw a rally together and people unite with like-minded people, and then business starts happening and people start dealing with each other and starting exchanges and things, and it's a powerful thing. But anyway, that being said, we have thunderbroshow.com, and then we are on Twitter as Thunderbro Show. You can reach us individually on Twitter. I'm Tony __ Carnes, Karns. Josh, what's your Twitter handle?
I can be reached at Joshua Fatepool.
Okay. And essentially, yeah, that's how to reach out to us. Our next episode, we do a podcast about tech, politics, and news. Tech, politics, and video games. And, news too, technically, but that really counts as politics.
Kind of whatever. I mean,
Yeah, and in today's case, we kind of got very philosophical and about certain deep social issues and our personal ways and analyses on those things that we've experienced. So yeah, if you follow us this whole 2 hours, kudos. We might have to cut this into 2 episodes. For those that followed us live, we'll see what happens.
Well, thanks everybody. Have yourself a good week, and we will see you next week.